Hi, welcome to Common Sense. I think there's so many different issues right now, but the biggest one I think I can address is fake news. And so I'm going to accept as a premise that fake news exists. If you don't believe that, just stop watching. You're not going to like what I'm going to say. Fake news, some people seem to define it as anything negative about President Trump. I don't believe that. I think news is something that's based in fact and reality. So fake news would be news that's not based in fact or reality. And in fact, what I see a lot of news is really opinion based, and it's not labeled as opinion based. When you take an ethical reporting organization like, let's say, the New York Times, and they post somebody's opinion, it's an op ed, and the op is opinion. That's to give the reader the heads up or the warning. This is somebody's point of view. It's not necessarily based in fact. And sometimes we will hear things like, oh, the New York Times or Fox or whatever the organization is decided not to run with the story because they couldn't verify that from multiple sources. So journalists are supposed to follow a certain code of ethics that they're not publishing or creating video that contradicts things that are fact. And that's what we expect from news. An opinion is just somebody's opinion. The problem is social media. I mean, think about that for a second. How many people watching this video actually think of social media as the media? People talk about the left media, the right media. Well, we have a lot of media on both sides. It's not that 92% of the media is left. Look at Twitter. How many people do you follow that are left or right or independent or whatever your issue is? All of those people that are tweeting and retweeting are part of the media. I'm part of the media now. I'm making a video. I plan to put it on Twitter. I don't have many people that follow me, so my channel, my ratings are not very good, but there might be other people that will see this. And so all these people are now like thousands and millions and maybe even billions of people. I don't know how many people are Twitter or Facebook, but certainly a lot are all acting as journalists, but they don't have any of the same requirement for journalists. And so we are the fake media. The people on social media are the biggest part of fake news. When you tweet something or retweet something that's an opinion that's not based in fact, you're part of the fake news. And this is a huge crisis. And this is a crisis that we, the American people, we don't need politicians to solve this. We don't need a president or a vice president or a Supreme Court to solve this problem. We can each and every one of us individually solve this problem by being responsible on social media. So when I look at something and I'm going to retweet it, I actually go out to Google and I will Google this. And don't just start with the first article that comes up. You can go 2 or 3 articles deep. You can go 2 or 3 pages deep. But I try to read 2 or 3 or 4 articles that have different opinions to try to see if I can get to the sense of whether this thing is true or not. And then if I believe it's true, I'll go ahead and like it or I'll retweet it, because everything that I like and everything that I retweet is becoming part of a national discussion, even though only a few people really care what I think. Only a few people have subscribed or followed me on Twitter. It doesn't matter, because those people are going to like it, and then people who follow those people are going to see it, and it's going to spread out. And there's so much retweeting of things that are not based in fact, but are become part of somebody else's ideology, right? We look to the news, to the media, to tell us what the truth is in certain situations, to tell us what to think. So if I put out a tweet and I say, President Trump is evil, or President Trump was not elected by the American public, the Russians stole the election, that's just an opinion. I have nothing to put it behind that. And yet a whole bunch of liberal people are going to pick up that tweet and be like, yeah, get him. This is right. He's terrible. That would be severely irresponsible on my part. The same would be true if I put out a tweet and I said, Democrats are stealing the election in Florida. Well, I don't live in Florida. I haven't really been able to follow the election because I've been out of the country. And even if I could, there's nothing there. I've actually researched this particular issue, and from everything that I've seen on what I consider to be reputable sites, people that are citing where they're getting their information from, um, both candidates in Florida are saying, hey, there's no election problem. Even Marco Rubio is saying, we don't necessarily know that there's corruption going on in there. He actually just put out a nice tweet correcting somebody who misquoted him. I mean, that's responsibility. And we all have a responsibility to act ethically when we're acting as the media, which we are doing when we're on social media. So I just hope that everybody will just stop and take a look at the stuff that you're retweeting, the stuff that you're liking. Majority of what I see on Twitter is just bashing. All Dems are evil, all Republicans are evil. No, all anybody is evil. I mean, the minute you start saying all, or you start using phrases that describe vast majority of people who do not necessarily all think alike, then I think you immediately got a problem. I've met people, both liberals and Democrats, who say, look, tell us some information. We're open, we're willing to hear and change our opinion based on something that's true and factual. That is appropriate. There's nothing wrong with critical thinking. And I think majority of what I see on Twitter is not critical thinking. Critical thinking means that you critically evaluate something. And if something's true, it should be able to survive that critical evaluation. I mean, imagine if Twitter had existed way back in the day when people were arguing about whether the earth is flat or the earth is round. Is that the way you want that problem solved? That, hey, I see the earth, I look out my window, it's flat. There you go. That's all we need. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking by it, and 150 million people like that and retweet that. And then, scientists come in and say, but no, we have telescopes, we have, things. We sent some guy off in a ship, and he sailed in the same direction for, 2 years, and he came back to the same spot where it is. Clearly, the earth is round. And people are like, oh, no, that's a, leftist conspiracy. That's not the way to arrive at the truth. Anything that you believe, regardless of which team you're on, should be able to survive constructive criticism, logical dialogue. Somebody should be able to say, you say, I believe the earth revolves around the sun, and somebody comes back and says, well, how do you explain that the sun always rises in the east and it sets in the west and it seems to travel across our horizon? The sun revolves around the earth. You should have some scientific facts to be able to come back and say, well, no, actually for X, Y, and Z, we really can prove that the earth revolves around the sun. If you can't do that, if you don't have anything to back it up, if what you're saying cannot survive logical, mature, scientific dialogue, if all you've got as a comeback is you're a tool, or you're a jerk, or you're a Trump hater, or you're a right-wing conspiracy theory, if that's all you've got is to insult somebody, then you know what? Probably what you're tweeting is not true. Because things that are true survive being examined. I mean, that's the scientific principle, that you make experiments and you go and something is considered true until it can be disproved, and that we should disprove it. I mean, I work with people that are programmers, teaching them how to program, and one of the things we teach them is create tests that will find a bug. Because if you make a test that doesn't find a bug, that doesn't prove that your software works. It just proves that you were able to create a test that gave you the outcome that you wanted. That doesn't mean it's good for anybody or that it's successful. So I don't know if this is helpful to anybody, but I feel very strongly about this, that we should have a mature dialogue on social media, that we can't just use it as a platform to bash other people or share information that's not true, because then we are the fake news. And in that case, fake news is really all there is that's going on. A lot of people get their news from tweets. They can't watch TV all day when they're at work. They go to social media to get information. If every single person on social media platforms began to act congruent with the amount of power that they have by being on these platforms, then you know what? I think the world would be a better place, and that we would be able to much more quickly and better solve these problems that are making everybody so unhappy. They're making me unhappy, and they're probably making you unhappy as well. So be responsible, tweet responsibly, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.